Hello and welcome to another episode of Derail Valley, where I'm doing my best to drive virtual locomotives without causing major disaster. Or do I? Anyway, before we begin, I'd like to remind you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that already, and follow up with bell button to turn on the notifications and stay up to date with my latest content. I would also like to encourage you to join my Discord server, where you can interact with me and other Derail Valley fans, talk about the game in general, share some cool mods, or just chill. You can find link in description down below this video. So, welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been featuring, since I featured Derail Valley on my channel. I do have ongoing series for anyone who just watches this video and, well, never watched that series for some reason. Anyway, yes, the series is here and it should soon pop up on top right corner of your screens. Anyway, for anyone who is returning viewer, welcome back. Does this video mean that I will keep making videos regularly every week? Well, not exactly. As you've probably noticed, I've recently moved to Train Sim World 2. And that's the game that I will keep featuring a little bit more often than I used to. Why is that? Well, Derail Valley, as you may or may not know, is in early stages of development. So many features that are announced are still not yet in the game. So as those new features will arrive, I can eventually start making some content about them. Because transporting cargo from one station to another and going back and basically repeating the same tasks will very, very soon become boring. That's why I decided to cut on Derail Valley content or videos because there's not much content to be shown. I'm not that funny person to do content out of nothing. So if there is nothing to be told, then there is no content, or there is very little of such. Anyway, in today's episode, we will be looking at a feature that was recently added. It's been like 2 weeks ago, I think, and that is multiple unit support. So right now, the game in its core design, in vanilla game without any mods, is supporting tandems of locomotives. How to sort it out, you ask? Well, that's what this video will be all about. So sit down, relax, enjoy a cup of tea, and let's get into the video, shall we? Right, so here we are in front of our two lovely shunters. That's unfortunately the only diesel locomotive that I can work with. And yes, multiple unit support is added only for diesel locomotives, which means DE6 and DE2, which is an example here. Yeah, I can't drive DE6, which you can find probably in that roundhouse. There's probably like 2 or 3 of them, but I can drive shunters. And as it turns out, I'm pulling quite heavy load of rails. And it's a little bit too much for this little guy. So I decided to organize him some help. So how do you connect 2 locomotives together? Now let's start from that. Well, first of all, you connect them as usual. So you connect the pipe or the brake pipe. You connect the locomotives with the hook. And then if you want to use them in a tandem, if you want controls to actually synchronize without jumping between 2 locomotives, you need to connect that blue cable. Unfortunately, as you can see on your screens, it requires a license. So I'll be back with you in just a second. Here we are at Career Manager, as you can see, in Station Office. Not in my caboose. Anyway, let's get to licenses and let's see if we can get multiple unit license. So it costs 30 grand. Well, not bad of a price, providing that every single like job license and basic operations license, I would say, cost around 20 to 30 grand. I think multiple unit is totally worth that price. So let's pull out some money from my wallet. Let's buy it, and there we go. Woohoo! We get a license. So what does this license do? It allows us to connect 2 locomotives all together, or actually 2 or more locomotives all together. It basically works for any diesel locomotive, as I mentioned before. The other effects of this, this license is that our insurance copay grows by 5,000, and time bonus deadline decreases by 1%, which means that we got 1% less time to complete our task and get bonus for it. Right, let me throw this out. We don't need it anymore, and let's get back to our lovely locomotives. So as you remember, we managed to connect them all together. However, we couldn't connect that blue cable, and as you can see right now, we can totally do that. Ooh, that was scary. Right, so as our locomotives are connected, you might ask, well, does it work? Let's find out. So let's start from locomotives being turned off. Let's change our reverser to forward. It is set to forward in this locomotive. Let's see if it's synchronized for this one. Yes, it is. Right, let's check if our brakes are synchronized. So I'm now releasing independent brake for the front locomotive. And for the rear one, it is also released. Let's apply it while sitting in rear one. And let's see, yep, it is now applied in the front one. So pretty much all the controls should be synchronized. I turned off cab lights in the front one. Let's see if it synchronizes. Well, that doesn't. Okay. So at least we know that levers seems to be synchronizing. If I would add full throttle in the rear locomotive, it is also applying full throttle in the front locomotive. And same goes, if I do anything in the front locomotive, it will affect the rear one, except maybe cab lights. I'm not sure about headlights. If I turn them in rear locomotive, they remain turned off in the front one, probably in the rear one as well. Yeah. Anyway, that's the functionality that has not been yet added to vanilla game. That's why it doesn't work. I'm not sure about the horn because it's so loud that I can't actually make up the difference between the 2 locomotives, but I assume that horn might actually be working for both locomotives too. Right, so we know that the levers work. Can we turn on the locomotive while being in a different one? Let's find out. I'm in the rear locomotive now. Can I turn on the front one? Well, this one is definitely turned on. Let's see this one. Nope, this one is not. So, in order to operate locomotives in a tandem, you have to turn on each engine separately. It is very important clue. Right, so now we got our 2 locomotives working. They both are connected with each other. Let's see if we can benefit from that extra power. So I will set my junctions to go all the way forwards. There we go. Let's release independent brakes and let's see if we can now easily pull that. It's almost 1,000 ton worth of cargo, so it is really heavy. So as I'm applying power to the front locomotive, you can probably notice that, well, we are slowly moving. And you can actually hear that both locomotives are actually applying power. There we go, the lever is not in 0 position. So we can operate both of them connected locomotives from any of the cabins. Works as intended. So the question is, can we add more locomotives into it? Yes. Yes, we can. Can we mix them? I'm not sure about that, and unfortunately I won't be able to answer this question in this video. However, from what I know, as long as the blue cable is connected, you should be able to operate 2 locomotives regardless if they are the same or different from each other. So DE2 can technically work with DE6. How much that is true, I can't verify that. When I will get license for both locomotives, I will eventually test that out, and you will get that update. For now, yeah, you can operate 2, at least 2 same locomotives, as long as they are connected with the blue cable. If I would disconnect the blue cable, for example, yeah, right now. So if I would if I disconnected the blue cable and let the first locomotive coast, as you can hear, the second one is still trying to push me. So nothing is now synchronized. I would have to go separately to each locomotive, let them coast, and eventually what I can try to do, I probably won't be able to. Oh, there we go. I managed to connect them all together, so I regained control over both of them. So, right. So the question is, can we operate locomotives using remote control while they are connected in a tandem? That is in fact an interesting question. So I'll be right back with you, and we will find out about that. Welcome back, and here we are. As you can see, I got my remote controller. I got 3 locomotives. They are all connected in tandem. So technically, when I turn the power on, well, it won't work because I first need to pair it. So can I pair it? I jumped into the first locomotive and it managed to pair it. Can I switch reverser? There we go, reverser has switched. I'm not sure if you can see that. Yeah, it is now in forward position. Let me switch it to, let's say, rear position. 1, 2, and we can see, yeah, reverser seems to be working. Is it transferring between 2 locomotives? Yes, it does. Right, so let's set reverser back to forward position. There we go. And let's apply independent brake. As you can see, it works for this locomotive, it works for third locomotive, and it works for the first locomotive. So everything seems to work perfectly fine when the locomotives are in a tandem. I'm not sure about the horn. Okay, the horn works only for the first locomotive, so that also answers the question about connection between horn in a tandem. Right, so let's see if those locomotives will all apply throttle when I apply it for the first one. We are going forward. Let's apply light throttle. And let's see. Yeah, you can see by exhaust pipe in the first, second and third locomotive that we are indeed applying throttle in all of them. And basically we can stand next to them and hear that, yeah, all of them are indeed working. So you can, in fact, operate the locomotives in a tandem using remote control, which is very good. Right, so the question is, what else can we actually do while locomotives are in a tandem? Well, here's a surprise. I was actually thinking about grouping the locomotives. So let's say, let's have first two in a tandem and let's disconnect the third one. We don't need it. So as you can see, the brake is applied in a third one. Let me just release all the brakes. Let me set reverser to neutral, throttle to neutral. Okay, that's fantastic. But in the first two, reverser is still connected. So if I will turn it, the third one won't react. We've already checked that. So you can technically group up the locomotives. If we take our remote controller, it is now paired with the first locomotive. Let's unpair it. So right now it is not paired with any locomotive. I will jump into third locomotive and I will pair it. So let's see. Reverser is in neutral position. Let's see what about locomotives in a tandem. Let me just switch this one to forward position and let's see if it changes on my remote. No, it doesn't. Because this locomotive is actually not connected to the tandem. It is creating a separate group. And now you can see what I'm going into, isn't it? Yes, you can in fact create at least two groups that you can operate at the same time. Here, let me show you. Two locomotives up front are in tandem, as we already know, and they are not applying any throttle. But what I can do, I can apply throttle in this one. Is it working for all three locomotives though? Nope. These two are still stopped. And they got their independent brakes on, along with train brake. So I can release train brake, which will finally start increasing brake pipe. And I can now release independent brakes of this one. It was actually released. But the train brake was still applied. That's why we couldn't move. Fantastic. Fantastic, you may ask. So, as you can see, these two locomotives are running idle. And it's only third one that is actually applying throttle. So if I would reduce the throttle in a third one, I can operate it completely independent from them too. And it will work the same regardless of how many locomotives you will connect. You can connect 3, 4, 5 and create two groups. As long as your remote controller can reach with the signal, you can actually attach two more locomotives to the back, connect them in a tandem in their own separate group, and they will work using remote control. How cool is that? Anyway, that is it for today's small tutorial. There's pretty much not much else to say about tandems. There's not much else to say about groups. As you can see, it works, and it works perfectly fine. You have to turn off each locomotive separately, by the way. Anyway. Oh, and that's the third one. Let me turn it off to reduce the noise. Fantastic. So, well, that was a quick showcase and perhaps tutorial with some ideas on how to use tandems. In my opinion, they are much, much better than they used to be when I used a mod. Why is that? Well, before it was introduced into the game, every single diesel locomotive connected to this train would be operated using the same controls, regardless if they are connected with the cable or not, and regardless of their position in the train. Right now, well, as long as locomotives are not at front or somewhere in the middle, as long as they are not connected to their own group, they can be operated only from one of the cabins that are in the group. So, yes, you guessed it. Independent rail cars doesn't have this blue cable. So you can't transfer signal from front of the train to the back. So you can't operate rear locomotives using cabin in front locomotive. You have to use separate remote control. That's why the most effective way would be actually to have caboose somewhere in the middle of the train, perhaps between two jobs or somewhere else, or at the back of the train before last two locomotives, if you want to use power of multiple units that are connected also in various other parts of the train. However, you can't connect, let's say, third locomotive somewhere in the middle and transfer that signal. You have to operate it using remote control. It creates two separate groups, but it works really, really well. Even though there is that one lacking functionality, I still think it's working much better. It actually allows you to operate something using remote control. So it makes it even more useful than it was. Anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you want to get informed about my new content, hit that notification bell button and don't forget to share your comments down below. Have a great day and see you all later. Later. Out.